to the Millstone Report. Thanks so much for being with us. I've been perusing the headlines, and one of the headlines that came up, the New York Times is freaking out because, the headline, formula, fries, and Fruit Loops, Washington bends to Kennedy's MAHA agenda. I haven't been impressed with everything Robert Kennedy has done, but certainly we want to get the food and the poison out of our food. That much is clear. And, of course, we covered the controversy, over the weekend between Big Soda and Big Pharma. Big Soda paying these conservative influencers to not, remove the soda from the SNAP benefits. We remember that. But there's a cycle here, right? You're unhealthy, you have an unhealthy diet that's driving you into the arms of Big Pharma, where you're going to get on the pills or whatever they want, whatever medicine they want you to take, and basically make you a lifelong customer. So we've talked about this before, and there are other solutions. Instead of running into the arms of Big Pharma, there are natural remedies. One of those remedies is, of course, CBD, and that's why when I use CBD, I use the CBD that's sold by the great folks at Curable, and that's why I wanted to reach out today to my good friend Justin Finneman. He is back with us. Justin, welcome. You are the National Sales Director for Curable.com. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Paul. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. I've been telling folks about Curable for a while now on the program. But I want to first just introduce you to the audience. Tell us, how did you get into this? When did you first learn about CBD and all of the amazing, anti-inflammatory benefits it provides?
Yeah, for sure, Paul. So I had no desire or background in the hemp or cannabis space at all. My background is in the non-surgical orthopedic space, working with doctors all over the country who like to offer alternative solutions to basically drugs and surgery. So I spent a lot of years working with independent practice owners that want to help patients get to the root cause of disease. And I got approached here by this family because I'm from Minnesota, and they said, we want you to come and take a look at our operation here. And to be honest, I showed up, I didn't know what I was in for. And I walked up to this incredible facility where they had a farm in the background. They had their own chemists from the University of Minnesota. They had their own extraction and processing facility. And they are truly a seed-to-you or 100% vertically integrated hemp and cannabis business. And that's special because most of the products that are sold today in the market that are CBD-based, nobody has any idea where these products are coming from. So to be sourced directly where we know exactly where they're coming from and they're being taken care of, the way this product is being taken care of, it's a special, unique thing. And long story short, this family sent me home with a container of muscle cream and like a plastic container your grandma would give you and send you home some leftovers in. And I put that muscle cream on my back because I've got significant low back pain. And I was blown away. And, I'm going to fast forward, but from there, we've been around for about 3 years. We're working with almost 600 medical clinics and doctors in over 40 different states. And, it's been about the quality, the testing, the efficacy in the background, and just the results we get. So I was just kind of thrust into this space because it was another alternative solution that these doctors were looking for to help their patients heal from a non-surgical perspective.
I mean, I've been talking about this with my family for a long time, and I'm glad that you mentioned the muscle cream specifically, because that was the product, and that's one I talk about all the time. That's my favorite product. I also am a big fan of the roll-on, but it really is, if you've got chronic pain, or let's say you're sore from going out and playing tennis or something like that, this stuff really works. I know my mom has arthritis in her hands. She uses this stuff now, and it really helps her, and it alleviates the pain. But we want to talk about, this is not just like you can get CBD at a gas station. If you go into a gas station, you'll see people hawking CBD. This is not gas station level CBD, right? I mean, you already mentioned it, that this company, Curable, you guys kind of oversee the entire process from the seed, to it growing, to extracting the hemp, and then talk about, again, the third-party testing.
Yeah, so we're literally, this family is putting the seeds in the ground. They're tilling the field by hand. They're taking the hemp off. They're cultivating the entire process from there and doing the extraction. Then we internally test every single batch of hemp we have, and then we third-party test with an accredited lab out of Fargo, North Dakota. So it's truly a seed to you process that not many people have access to. And it doesn't mean we're the only group in the country that's doing this the right way, but we believe, again, probably 80 to 90% of the CBD products in the market, nobody even has an idea of where the source of that product or the hemp is coming from. So it all starts with cultivating that process and continuing to just replicate that process over and over as we grow, where people feel comfortable with the sourcing and the testing that we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so right now over at the website, curable.com, that's Kuribl, we have, it says free shipping right now site-wide. Is that correct, Justin?
Yeah, for sure. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, and then here we have the muscle cream here. Again, full spectrum. We've got the gummies too. Look at the gummies here because this is interesting. I've tried the sleep gummies, Justin, and they certainly work. These are different though because these are the sleep gummies that you guys have now added melatonin to them. They already worked great. I can't imagine them working any better than they already do without the melatonin. But can you tell us a little bit about this product?
Yeah, so CBD has a profound effect on how your body kind of dives into these natural cycles of REM sleep. Okay, and even not too long ago, the Mayo Clinic did an interesting podcast with some of their doctors talking about CBD and REM sleep. Okay, so it's just a powerful combination when we include our homegrown CBD with melatonin, which is pretty much universally recognized as something to help our bodies get into deeper sleep as well. And relaxation. So the combination together has been tremendous for us. So what a lot of people will do is if they have aches and pains, let's say they have low back pain or they have neck pain, they will use the muscle cream for whatever area is hurting externally, and then they'll use the sleep gummy on top of that to help their brain and their body relax even more for a very potent way or powerful way to attack a really, really restful night's sleep in combination.
Wow. Well, I know they work. That much I do know. But I also, while I have you here, though, because I know I haven't talked a lot about this when I've been telling folks about it on the show, but you guys also have, there, see on the far left there, we also have these tinctures. And I think you have to spend just a little bit of time on the tinctures because, you've got the cream here that's, talking about, I guess, external pain. But when you do the tinctures, you're now putting the CBD directly into the bloodstream. And so it's I think it kind of goes where it's needed, maybe inflammation within your body that you don't even really know you have. And we also want to remind everybody, we're not talking about THC. We're not talking about getting high here. This is CBD, so this has not got, THC in it, or at least the amount that, you would feel any kind of psychoactive effect. So can you tell us a little bit about the tinctures and what that does versus what the exterior topicals do?
Yeah, so when you utilize a tincture, your body systemically is going to utilize that oil much differently than if you use an external topical. And the reason for that is our bodies actually contain what is called the endocannabinoid system. Okay, and that system has certain receptors in the brain, and it has different receptors throughout our body in places like our immune system and in different areas, okay? And when we use these plant cannabinoids like CBD or CBG, they interact naturally from a systemic perspective with our body's own endocannabinoid system. Okay, so we take a plant cannabinoid and it interacts with the body's natural endocannabinoid system to create what we call or work towards homeostasis, which is basically balancing the body. Okay, so the more balanced the body is, the lower our stress levels are, the better we function, the better energy we have, the better we can sleep. And that's what's happening here is these types of products are systemically interacting with our body's own system to produce these kinds of benefits like better relaxation, less chronic inflammation, and so on and so forth. And that's really what's happening throughout our brain and throughout our body.
All right, while I have you here, before we go, can I just get your opinion on? I'm just curious in the industry right now. You know, we talked at the top of the show about Robert Kennedy, Make America Healthy Again. There are more and more people, I think, that are becoming aware of just how, toxic the big pharma industry is. People are really starting to realize that the environment around, that's around us is just full of toxins and poison. So are you seeing that? Are you seeing that more and more people are waking up and realizing that we do need to become a healthier country, and the people are finding that CBD is one of the ways to do that?
So I'm going to take this a step further. It's a wonderful question. Not only are we seeing people realize that, but where we're seeing the change being driven is actually in the doctors. And what we're seeing is a lot of the younger physicians are now coming forward because they're understanding that we're covering up certain conditions by simply medications, or we're covering up pain with opioids, or we're covering up injuries by going to a surgery first mindset. And what's happening is more and more younger physicians are realizing this, and they're coming forward and saying, I don't want to manage pain with NSAIDs or opioids or steroid injections. I want to manage pain with natural solutions like CBD and other hemp-derived products. Okay, so it's actually happening from a very critical area, which is the physicians, because the physicians will drive change because people will obviously listen to them. And that's what's been encouraging for us, is we've seen these younger doctors go from working in the bigger systems to then moving towards the independent practices, which is very difficult for them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times it's cash-based. They don't have the luxury of insurance always, but they've said enough is enough. We need people to eat better, to have less stress, to sleep better, and we want to find natural solutions that are not going to harm our patients. Yep. And that's why they started to move towards us.
Well, and at the beginning of the week, he announced plans. Kennedy said, "Hey, no more pharmaceutical ads are going to be, on the TV. We're gonna roll that back," which is a huge, thing for the freedom of the press, honestly, to not be such a captive. But it's also just it needed to happen a long time ago. But on that, I want people to hear the truth in this advertisement and to get some CBD. And so if you go to curable.com, that's KURIBL.com, and you use promo code Paul20 at checkout, you're going to save 20%. And right now, again, there's free shipping on the site, across the site. So I appreciate this great product. I appreciate you letting me partner with you, Justin. And I'll give you the last word, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I guess I want to end with this. What makes us very unique is always the back end of the CDU process, and overseeing that entire process throughout, bringing these products to market. But what I want to say is, if you're in pain and you've tried other topicals and you haven't gotten relief, nobody has a topical that is 2,000 milligrams from a standpoint of a high concentration of CBD and the other analgesics to fight pain. So if you've got back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, give our muscle cream a shot. If you're struggling to sleep, give our sleep gummies an opportunity to help you, and I think you're going to be extremely impressed.
Justin Finneman, we really appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. It's always great to talk to you, sir, and we'll do it again real soon.
Thank you, Paul.
Absolutely. All right, folks, back in just a moment.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Happy Friday to everybody out there watching. We can't do the program without you. And again, if you go to mypillow.com, remember, use that promo code PH. So I'm sitting here debating whether or not to make Fridays just like a special show where we try to talk about, the MAHA agenda, Make America Healthy Again. I don't know. It just kind of came to me because I guess last night and this morning as I'm, prepping for the show, obviously we talked to Justin Finneman about, CBD, and now I'm thinking like I've got all these other news items in here about vaccines and, RFK Jr., trying to create a new vaccine injury database that's actually apparently the one that we do have is totally flawed. And I mean, there's incredible stuff. He was interviewed by Cuomo, RFK was recently, and he says that that within HHS they ask for data. So they go to some agency under HHS and they ask for the data, and they can't get it because the lower agency wants the higher agency to buy the data. This is within our own government. Wants to, no, we can't give that to you unless you buy it back because we bought it from you. It's absolutely nuts what's going on, and we'll get to that here in a minute. Let's first talk about how CNN is covering. So CNN is covering the RFK thing the way you would expect, okay? And they're doing this hit piece on measles. Now, remember, there was a letter, an op-ed that Kennedy wrote that I was not a fan of about, the MMR, supposedly the outbreak, or there's an outbreak down in Texas. And, of course, Fox News, I think, wrote the byline, or I'm sorry, the sub-headline there that he did not write. That was just like, yeah, yay, go, MMR vaccines. I mean, the problem was that many of us out there learned that, the MMR vaccine or these other vaccines may not be safe, learned it from RFK. So when RFK came out with that letter, there was a lot of people on the right and in the MAHA movement that were very disappointed. But he did say in there that vitamin A is a treatment for the measles, which has not set well with CNN. So here's CNN's Aaron Burnett, yesterday.
You mentioned vaccines, Governor. I'm curious because RFK...
So this is the governor of Hawaii.
...has been talking about vitamin A as a possible cure for measles. And he's refused to say that vaccines are the only way to stop measles from spreading, that is the ultimate tool in the toolbox. The New York Times reports that doctors in Texas, I don't know if you saw this, but that they have now been treating children who have been given so much vitamin A that they have signs of liver damage. And one doctor in Texas said that kind of preventative use, I think, is especially concerning when we have kids taking it for weeks and weeks. Then you have potentially a cumulative impact of toxicity. Look, you helped battle measles in Samoa when people weren't vaccinated. RFK Jr. obviously had been there before that. I mean, right. What do you think when you're seeing this? That people are actually taking vitamin A, giving it to their kids to a toxic level.
People are giving their kids vitamin A, oh my goodness, to a toxic level.
Instead of vaccinating them.
Well, it's tragic. Again, it is malpractice. So,
are there any studies out there or anybody that out there says that giving your kid vitamin A, even to a toxic level, causes autism? So this is what, it's just so funny to me because this is what they just totally ignore. They ignore, like no one, CNN is not asking, all they have is shame. All they have is shame and supposed arguing from a position of authority. No one is asking the question, why are parents hesitant to vaccinate their children? No one is really asking that question. Now, if they did, they would blame it on people like RFK, I'm sure. But the Vigilant Fox saying that CNN's Aaron Burnett is stunned that children are actually taking vitamin A instead of being jabbed for measles. It says that's like calling vitamin D a conspiracy theory. We remember that when COVID was going on, and we said there were people saying, hey, vitamin D is actually really good at fighting this stuff. Vitamin C, magnesium was good as well. And let's not get started on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And by the way, my governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, here in Arkansas, signed a bill making ivermectin over-the-counter medicine. I think this week. So it was a bill that, passed out of 2 committees, 2 chambers, and was signed by the governor. So a lot of people in my neck of the woods are excited. Right now, as present, Tennessee has an over-the-counter law where you can get ivermectin at participating pharmacies if they want to do it. There's some woke pharmacies they're never going to do this. I'm just letting you. That's what's also funny. You also have people within who are ingrained in the medical industrial complex. They still don't want to admit that ivermectin is a therapy because they've got signs on their pharmacy where they're still hawking the COVID vax. Get your booster. That's still happening today. Some people still really don't want to come to terms with what they participated in and enabled during the COVID crisis. Then we have this. Here is a few more. We've got this is the part I was telling you about. Absolutely stunning. We got Chris Cuomo interviewing RFK about agencies essentially holding data hostage from other agencies and demanding a ransom. That's how I'm characterizing it. They're demanding a ransom.
What Elon did with our agency is going to help our agency. So I'm very grateful to him he came in for the first time with a real org chart for the agency. The agency org chart when I arrived was incomprehensible. There was no chain of command. There were people operating in all these different silos and fiefdoms. And they were so territorial and so self-serving that they were selling patient information to each other. So I tried to get the CMS patient information, which belongs to the American people and belongs to HHS. And the sub-agencies said we have to buy it from them. And it doesn't make any sense. There are sub-agencies that refuse to give us patient data. This is depersonalized data. Mm-hmm. And we need to make America healthy again. What Elon is doing is he's using AI to improve health, to improve efficiency, to improve delivery. And he had a bunch of geniuses come over to the department, create an org chart that worked, and consolidate. We have many divisions that are doing the exact same thing. We need to consolidate them.
That's incredible, though. You have to buy the agency, or you have to buy the data back from the agency. Okay. And then we have this. This is the announcement of a new vaccine injury.
Let me ask you, are you going to make any investments in long COVID and vaccine injuries in terms of coming up with treatments and data to help clinicians, help their patients?
Yeah, that's going to be one of our priority focuses. We already have a division at NIH that is devoted to studying long COVID and to figuring out cures and to study, and we're incorporating an agency within CDC that is going to specialize in vaccine injuries. So those are things that are priorities for me, and also Lyme disease. These are priorities for the American people. More and more people are suffering from these injuries, and we are committed to having gold standard science to make sure that we can figure out what the treatments are and that we can deliver the best.
All right, so RFK says that he's committed to gold standard science. If you go back and you watch the rest of that clip with Aaron Burnett and the governor of Hawaii, they're talking about science. You've got RFK saying, we want the gold standard, and you've got Aaron Burnett and CNN, who's being paid by Big Pharma in their massive ads for now, saying, no, we're going to follow the science. We have the corner on what science is. It's just an observation I'm making. I just find it incredibly interesting. Of course, at the beginning of the week, there's certainly the beginning of the week is a huge deal where RFK says we're going to ban TV commercials. We're going to ban, by the way, those T-shirts. Banning things is good sometimes. Banning pharmaceutical companies from being able to advertise their products on, woke news organizations like CNN over time just might allow CNN to criticize pharmaceutical companies and the stranglehold they have on this country. Here is so Alex Jones posting this with Michael Knowles and RFK about reasserting that the vaccines that are given to children in the first 6 months have never been tested for autism, saying his HHS is going to do that. Listen.
I know the question that you've been asked throughout your confirmation hearings, of course, was about the public's, I think, justifiable concern with the growth of vaccines. And the senators asked you enough questions about that I don't think you need to rehash a lot of it. But for the people who are asking questions about whether or not they'll vaccinate their kids or whether they should vaccinate their kids, will anything change about vaccine policy?
Yeah, everything's going to change because we're going to have good information. And, none of the vaccines that are given, but people said to me during the hearing, this link between autism and vaccines has been disproven. None of the vaccines that are given during the first 6 months of life have ever been tested for. The only one was the DTP vaccine, and that one study that was done, according to the Institute of Medicine, the National Academy of Sciences, found that there was a link. They threw out that study because it was based upon CDC's surveillance system, theirs, and they said that system is no good. It begs the question is, why doesn't CDC have a functional surveillance system? We're going to make sure they do have a functional surveillance system. Right now, the surveillance system is the system that, because they don't do pre-licensing safety testing for vaccines, they're the only product that's exempt. So what they say is, if there are injuries, we'll capture them afterward. But they have a system that doesn't capture them. In fact, CDC's own study of its own system said it captures fewer than 1% of vaccine injuries. It's worthless, and everybody agrees it's worthless. But why have we gone for 39 years and nobody's fixed it?
Without a functional system, right?
We're going to fix it, and we have,
the back and forth about we're going to have gold standard science. By the way, they also say the CDC is going to actually publish all of their studies, which they say have never done before, which that's fascinating. That just shows you that the whole thing has been about not serving the people, serving the interest of the corporations they're designed to regulate. The government's supposed to regulate them, and they've been totally captured. But it does kind of, I don't know if I grew up on South Park. I remember that a long time ago they had that one South Park where there was some dystopian future where atheists had won, and yet they still were at warring factions with one another. It was like a critique on this idea that all wars are caused because of people's religion. And yet they had all of the different, they were like, science be praised. And they had, this group of scientists that had a different understanding of science and this. So there was still war and it was actually a pretty interesting commentary on the human condition. But it's just interesting that, Aaron Burnett and the governor of Hawaii, who's a doctor, well, with the science, we got to follow the science. And then RFK, we're going to follow the science. It's like both people are saying the same thing, but they mean completely different things. We're going to follow the science that Big Pharma wants us to follow. We're going to follow the science. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to continue watching this. Did we already cover this one? Yeah. All right, so I've got that one up there twice. So let's actually talk about DOGE, though. You heard RFK Jr. mention DOGE, mention what Elon Musk is doing to HHS, trying to, reform, end the waste, the corruption, the fraud. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by Red Vive Health. Go to redvivehealth.org/Paul. We'll tell you more about the great healing power of red light and red light therapy panels here in just a moment. Before we get to, so Brett Baer and Musk and all of the DOGE, all of these radical DOGE people, the media has been telling us that the DOGE team is just full of a bunch of, radicals, full of a bunch of incompetent people that you don't want. And so Brett Baer sits down with these DOGE people last night on Fox News, and it was just a room full of competent people telling us, basically confirming every stereotype about the government, how it runs, the people that work at the government, how they view taxpayer money as obviously not their own. They spend it like drunken sailors. Like every stereotype about government that you have ever heard in your life is true and has been confirmed by, a bunch of people that come out of the private sector and go in and are absolutely horrified by what they see. So as part of this interview with all of these DOGE bros, as I'm going to call them, Elon Musk does sit down one-on-one with Brett Baer. when he does, he eventually gets this question about Mark Kelly. Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, right when we were on the brink of, slamming Zelensky after his outrageous behavior in the Oval Office. A week later, Mark Kelly goes over there or this might have been around the same time. I may be getting the events mixed up. But my point is he goes over there to basically counter-signal the president who wants peace, trying to once again fluff up Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And so Elon Musk calls him a traitor. Elon Musk, a couple of weeks ago, called Senator Mark Kelly, who is served in the armed forces, a traitor. And so Brett Baer's like, why'd you do that? Why'd you call him a traitor?
A lot is coming your way, but sometimes you say stuff or post stuff that gets attention. You give it out, in other words. Democratic Arizona Senator Mark Kelly posted on X about his trip to Ukraine to push for continuing to send U.S. weapons and support there, and you posted that he was a traitor. Well, why do that?
Well, I think somebody should care about the interests of the United States above the interests of another country. And if they don't, they're a traitor.
Yeah, but he's a decorated veteran, a former astronaut, a sitting U.S. senator.
That doesn't mean it's okay for him to put the interests of another country above America.
Obviously, there are some Republicans who think supporting Ukraine is the right thing still, but there's a battle
traitors.
Back and forth about how do you think it comes to an end?
Well, I think there will be a negotiated peace, and the thing that we should be concerned about is we should have empathy for the thousands of people that are dying every day in trenches, for no movement in the lines. So the borders remain the same. For the past 2 years, thousands of people have died every week for nothing. For what? And I take great offense at those who put the appearance of goodness over the reality of it. Those who virtue signal and say, oh, we can't give in to Russia, but have no solution to stopping thousands of kids dying every day. They just want that to continue forever. I have contempt for such people. I don't want to make that clear.
Yeah. So you're optimistic.
Because they're virtue signaling, and their lack of a solution means that kids don't have a father. It means that parents lost a son. For what? Nothing.
Musk obviously is exactly right. It's what we've been saying about the Ukraine war for a long time. Ukraine was never going to win against Russia. This was pointless. The only thing that history will record that Joe Biden, the United States, and the Uniparty, Republicans and Democrats, sent money to Ukraine to literally send Ukrainian soldiers to their certain death. To their certain death. For what? So that the Uniparty's money laundering depot that is Ukraine, that it is obvious, everybody knows what it is, a money laundering institution for both European leaders who don't actually have the consent of governor of their own people, and our own leaders who we don't have, we don't really have the consent, or we didn't, and that's what this is for. So many of the globalist bodies are buried. So many of the the deep state secrets they all went through Ukraine. The biolabs, the bioweapons labs, all of that, and much, much more, all run through this country, this Ukraine, this construct of a country, and they wanted to keep that going. And history records that America, took the moral low ground. That's what we did, and we funded it, and we conscripted Ukrainian boys and young men, and we sent them to the front lines to be slaughtered. That's what happened, and Donald Trump knows that's what happened, wants to stop it, and so does people like Elon Musk. And then you got people like Senator Mark Kelly who go over there trying to keep the war going. It's just, and it's absolutely nuts. And yet the media says that we got to support Ukraine, and it's the moral thing to do. You even hear Baer, well, there's some Republicans that still, they're in on it as well. and history will record that they essentially are the reason why Ukrainian soldiers were sent to the slaughter needlessly, because Ukraine was never going to win a war against Russia, ever. It was never going to happen. Which is why we should have, the unprovoked war. It was an unprovoked war, and yet NATO was pushing Ukraine membership, and Biden was pushing NATO membership. Anyway, we don't have to rehash all that. We all know what's going on. But let's actually go through the DOGE stuff for a second, okay? So here it is. Here is one of those DOGE staffers last night making an incredible amount of sense.
And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you hear, some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there was an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right.
Yeah, like every government employee stereotype you can imagine, 100% confirmed in these men's testimony.
Relative to financial operations. There's a $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billions of dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass an audit.
Honest question, and because I haven't watched this full interview, is one of the men up on the stage, quote, big balls?
Material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory. Until just recently, just a few weeks ago. In fact, maybe last week?
Yeah, we're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification, no verification.
Unbelievable that it's that lax, But again, this is why what we're finding out, this is why the Democrat Party has had so much life for so long, and the Republican Party too. But I think what we're going to find more the case than not is that a lot of, as I've been saying, like if you can't bribe your supporters, we're going to find out who has principles and who doesn't, who really believes and really sticks to what they say publicly. Do they really believe it or do they don't? And if the money dries up, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more honest discussions about what the issues really are affecting Americans. At least that's my hope. Here is more from that interview about wasting billions of dollars.
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally a 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000, the government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey, do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane. The sheer amount.
Survey Monkey, something he says something that should cost 10 grand was costing $1 billion. Survey Monkey. Okay, so like here's the deal, and I guess I should look into this. Like, who owns Survey Monkey? Who owns it? Who benefits from it? Who at Survey Monkey? How do they? What do they do with that money? How much does Survey Monkey or whoever owns Survey Monkey? How much do they give to political campaigns? Of the money that they give to political campaigns, where does the money go? Does it go to Republicans? Does it go to Democrats? What about NGOs? Do they make donations to any 501c3s that are actually doing, that are employing the sons and daughters of politicians? All of this stuff at this point now needs to be exposed and revealed and researched. That's actually a really easy thread to pull at. Like let's take a deep dive. He says that Survey Monkey was getting $1 billion. So let's take a weekend and let's try to find out everything we want to know about Survey Monkey, who they are, where they came from, because they're now going to be missing $1 billion. They're now going to be missing $1 billion. Can we watch that again? That sounds like a ridiculous amount of money.
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
Almost $1 billion.
Just a survey.
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing.
All right, so it could have been I guess it could be a third, I don't know. Is it SurveyMonkey itself? Is it a third party that the government's contracting with that uses SurveyMonkey? Anyway, we got to have more details because that is absolutely explosive. And if you actually, let's find the connections, I think it could be a pretty fun exercise. More from the DOGE boys. Here's a guy saying that he left he was running 5 businesses and he left this to be a patriot.
Do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty? I mean, is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
Right, I do, 100%. I was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this, and my wonderful wife said, go for it, and here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
If we don't do this, we're sunk. The ship, unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink. That's why we're doing it.
Wow. Again, it's just. By the way, I just have to take note: the amount of white people that are on this panel is going to absolutely trigger the left into oblivion. I mean, they're going to just cannot stand this. Anyway. Fascinating stuff going on, and I look forward to those. Here we got. This was my favorite part. Okay, I almost forgot about this one. We heard about this from an earlier Musk interview when he first started about a mine, as Gimli would say, a mine that houses all of the retirement paperwork. So, given my previous comments about like every government stereotype. That you've ever thought of, that government employees are lazy, or that government moves really slow because they love to waste taxpayer dollars because they're spending someone else's money, not their own money. They don't care. They're inefficient. Every government stereotype that you've ever thought about is true, and I think this next clip certainly proves that.
I bumped into Anthony and Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I love the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this. This giant cave has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as he dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So the process takes many months, and we're going to make it just many days.
Will it be digitized or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
It's crazy. It's like, it's nuts. It's just crazy, like the 1950s aspect of it. It's like we stopped. No more innovation, no more nothing. It's over. But speaking of triggering the left, did you guys see this? Though that people are freaking out over this. So there's this trend now, you guys have heard about it, the Studio Ghibli memes, where people are going to Chat GPT and they're having photos being made into Studio Ghibli, which is just Japanese animation studio that, has made the people that are into it, they love the stories and stuff like that. I'm not an anime guy myself. I honestly don't get it at all. But here is, so the White House Post is Virginia Basora Gonzalez, a previously deported alien felon convicted of fentanyl trafficking, was arrested by ICE in Philadelphia after illegally reentering the U.S. She wept when taken into custody. Picture attack. So here she is. This is her being taken into custody, 36-year-old. Now, look, this is not something like fentanyl's serious. She's trafficking fentanyl, and fentanyl is literally designed to kill Americans. Like, that's why they do this. This is not really about, it's about them making money, but they want dead Americans. The whole point of doing this, whether it's, China that's doing it, they're wanting to kill Americans. That's the agenda here. They want fentanyl laced everything, and they want it to kill, and it has. That's why it's killing hundreds of thousands of men every single year. That's the whole point of this. It's literally like a biological attack or chemical attack against the American people. And that's what it's designed to do. And so the idea that we should feel sorry for her at all when she is a part of the system that is systematically killing Americans from fentanyl overdose or exposure is ridiculous. And yet, this is what the White House posted. And I'm glad they posted it. And the leftist meltdowns are going to continue. William Wolf reminds us from the Center for Baptist Leadership that Joe Rigney wrote a book called The Sin of Empathy, so y'all would get bent out of shape when the White House, or so y'all wouldn't get bent out of shape when the White House memes a fentanyl-dealing illegal alien felon getting deported. A lot of you still haven't read it, and it shows. That's pretty funny. I like it. What a time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. So there's some fallout from Donald Trump endorsing Lindsey Graham for re-election. I'm pretty upset about that. I know many of you are upset about that as well. The Hodge twins writing, "We will never support that America Last traitor Lindsey Graham." The deep state marauder Ivan Raiklin responding to that says, "Neither will South Carolinians once all the Crossfire Hurricane documents are released and they see that Lindsey Graham was instrumental in covering for the DOJ and FBI when Graham was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee." Ivan Raiklin also posting that this endorsement that, is obviously, we call it a Trump L, that Trump would do this. He's done this very similar pattern. He's done this before where Trump, he just loves to endorse rhinos, and it's very frustrating for the Republicans who actually want to drain the swamp in their own states. But Ivan Raiklin says, breaking, exclusive scoop, POS traitor Lindsey Graham kneels down and smiles like a donut for a real Donald Trump endorsement hours after Mark Lynch, you need to get to know his name very well, folks, if you don't know, Mark Lynch is primarying Lindsey Graham. So hours after Mark Lynch, the filings become available, and it shows that Mark Lynch drops $5 million into his own Senate campaign account to primary Lady G. He goes and begs Trump for the endorsement. And there we see it right there. If you look from the, you look here, that Lynch for Senate has an available balance of $5 million. So, I mean, you guys do the math, right? Lindsey Graham is terrified. He is absolutely terrified for his political life. Mark Lynch, by the way, who's a good follow. Again, he is running to retire Lindsey Graham from the United States Senate. You can find out more. Go to lynchforsenate.com. This isn't an ad or anything like that. But Lindsey Graham got booed for 6 minutes straight at the Trump rally in Pickens, South Carolina. You remember this? This was back during the campaign. Lindsey Graham goes up to try to talk to his own constituents that are Trump voters in the 2024 election. And this is what happened.
Welcome to Pickens. Thank y'all for coming.
Boo.
Thank you very
So
much.
cringe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Well, you want to find something common?
And it went on and on. That's only a minute of it. It went on and on and on and on and on. Absolutely insane that this guy, just won't call it quits. Lady G, as he's called. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about Red Vive Health and the great folks over at redvivehealth.org. We're talking, of course, about the healing power of light. Why use red light therapy? I'll tell you why. Because you'll look better, you'll feel better, and you'll improve your performance. Red and near-infrared light are two wavelengths that are naturally emitted by the sun. In targeted doses, these waves have a healing effect on the body. Red light is absorbed by your skin, leading to the enhanced skin health and anti-aging properties. And then near-infrared light, this panel has both, two different wavelengths, independent of one another, or you can use them at the same time. That's what I do. The near-infrared light penetrates deeper into the body, which reaches your bones, your muscles, your tissues, and even your organs. Look better, feel better, unlock your body's true potential. You're going to increase your energy, reduce inflammation, regulate your hormones, and boost immunity. You want to talk about the Make America Healthy Again agenda? These treatments are what give Big Pharma executives absolute nightmares. The idea that you would have some of these healing machines and ways to deal with your pain without having to turn to them is a nightmare to them. These are clinical strength red light panels that you can have in your own home, and you can discover the healing power of red light therapy. Go look at their frequently asked questions. Also, they have 0% interest financing available. Again, the healing power of light. Look better, feel better, perform better. Elevate your game. This whole thing promotes faster wound healing. You're not going to be disappointed. You're going to take back control of your life, your health, and you're also going to be supporting me and what I'm trying to do here, delivering you the news. That's redvivehealth.org/Paul. Redvive, V-I-V-E, health.org/Paul. It's a pleasure to get to partner with the great folks at Redvive. Okay, a little juxtaposition here as we wind things down. Protestia.com has a disturbing. This is the Millstone Report after all. So because it's the Millstone Report, we're going to give out some rhetorical millstones, and we're going to give one out to Andy Stanley and his church, the people that are on staff at that church, leading little children on a path to hell. Exclusive, Protestia. Leaked LGBTQ training video from Andy Stanley's church reveals shocking instructions. A leaked small group training video from North Point Community Church shows a church ministry director instructing small group leaders to use affirming language with transgender tweens and teens, advising them to use their names, their new names, and personal pronouns because if everyone else in that child's life is affirming them, quote, we cannot be the last place a trans student feels comfortable, end quote. This is a video of a man by the name of Britt Kitchen. and he's I guess his title is the multi-campus director for transit, which I guess is the name for their youth group, from what I can tell. In this environment, middle school students, 6th through 8th graders, gather to explore their relationship with Christ and others through the use of games, music, teaching, and guided small group discussion. And so they come out with this. This is an insider video to train workers or, I guess, teachers within that group about how to deal with trans people. Not to tell them the truth about who they are, not to tell them the truth about how they can't become an opposite gender, who they are in God's eyes, not to tell them the scriptural truth of who they truly are, but instead participate in their delusion, affirm their sinful opinions about themselves, and not talk about their sin, and not talk about how they can be forgiven of their sin and made whole, and how they need to repent. No, none of that. None of that. In this leaked audio, listen to how they want you to interact with kids. We're not going to be able to get through all of it because it's disgusting.
That's the thing. We know that if we create a safe place, more students will share things with us that are difficult to navigate. So I want to talk through how we care for students who are experiencing gender dysphoria. Now, gender dysphoria, this is a weird term. We don't hear it a lot. Basically, this is the clinical term used for anyone who's unsure.
What do you mean you don't hear it a lot? So, that's all that you need to know, okay? The whole video is just a bunch of evil, wicked nonsense. That's what it is. But the juxtaposition I want to play for you here is that this is Andy Stanley, right? This is Andy Stanley's church. Josh Dawes makes a great point that the church should be the one place these confused kids are guaranteed to hear the truth about themselves, that they are fearfully and wonderfully made as the sex God designed them to be. This is unconscionable spiritual malpractice. Yes, it's leading a millstone for this kitchen fellow and Andy Stanley. But I think it's incredible to me how we have churches, okay, who are putting out this garbage, and yet the President of the United States, who is not particularly a religious man, he may be more so since he survived his assassinations, the President of the United States has more clarity on this issue than a so-called church does.
No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman.
Is this an instance of I mean, it's just crazy to me how the state is coming out of this. The state is rejecting it, getting out of the military, rejecting this woke sex religion, and it needs to be codified so it's permanently rejected into law. But the state is doing this, and yet the church, which is such a slave to the culture, because they bought into all the lies that the culture was selling to try to be applicable, to try to be available, to try to be approved of by the culture. Now they're stuck with these. They're stuck in their own mess. And they're going to be in this for the next 10 years. Andy Stanley's church is still going to be peddling the same nonsense for 10 years after the U.S. government may very well have completely moved on from the LGBTQ RSTLNE woke sex religion. Would you like to buy a vowel? Just a thought. Millstone, Andy Stanley, Millstone for this kitchen guy. They are literally leading children on a path to hell, and it's disgusting. That is all the time that we have for this edition of the Millstone Report, and I will say that this is the time on a Friday where I tell you, go to church. If you don't go to church, find a church, not like Andy Stanley's, whatever they're called. Find a church that preaches the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and his ability to save sinners. And go to a church that wants to worship him as we are called to do, one day out of 7. Find that church if you don't. For those of you that do go to church, have a blessed Lord's Day. And unless I'm providentially hindered, I will see you back here on Monday. God bless.
The very foundation of the Christian faith is based